Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below this video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, I'm joined by absolutely nobody, so until I am, I'm going to do a few shout-outs. Been a long while since I've started one of these shows on my own. Scroll up the chat, see who's in. John Watson, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Goddess Witch Bella, nice to see you. Knowledge Scavenger, how you doing, Paula? Good to see you in our chat. Thanks for being here. Lenny Harry, big shout out to you. Hit the super chat, my friend. David Reed, good to see you. That gassy juice. Lovely. No flat tards. Well, all are welcome. Good to see you all the same. P Mars. Hello there. What else we got? Donny Johnson says, say no to drugs. Indeed. I echo your sentiments, my friend. James Walter. Nice to see you, my friend. Smash that like button. John, is it Boonio? Just wondering who is at work. Is it a bad time? No, not at all. It's a very good time. Nick, nice to see you. Sarah Christina, thanks for being here. Says yo. Yo to you too. Saunders, thanks for being here. Vale, Valley Vale, I think is right. V-E-L-L-Y, Vale. Good morning, and good night. Good afternoon for you. Any more for any more? Darth Yucha. Good to see you, my friend. Nathio, nice to see you as well. Saucy London, thanks for being here. Millions. Hope I've got that right. My P1000 is here. Oh, excellent stuff. Let's just have a look at your channel, see if you've got anything already. Maybe a P900 user. We shall see. No. Launchbox retro emulation in 4K. Fair enough. Yeshua Dude, hello. Flat Earth Audio, good to see you. Plain and simple, thanks for being here. Fiddle the Figures says hello. Hello to you too. David Abs, nice to see you, my friend. Mercury Messenger 7, good to see you. Unsalted 667 says hello. Ute, good to have you here, my friend. Darren Watson, nice to see you. Bandsaw Bandit, good to have you, great name. Any more for any more? Empty panel, yeah, Mike. Amazing. It's probably been 6 months since I've started a show without anybody actually on the panel. Had to happen someday. I think that's probably it. Bob's your uncle. Good to see you as well. Going to be a slow start, I'm afraid. Could be that the link doesn't work. Maybe I should have checked that before I went live. Can't really do housekeeping without anybody here. Scupper's my original plan for this show. Glenn Mack, good to have you. Says, do a night show anytime, question mark. I can join the panel during the week. I have to wait till 6 PM. I have no idea what time zone you're in. So, presumably UK. Where's Sleeping Warrior? I don't know. Let's have a check on Skype. Online, but not here. It'd be handy if somebody could actually click the link and test that it does actually work, because I can't do that. Checked it does match the Hangout, so it should be okay. Should be working. Does remind me of the good old days where I used to sit here for sometimes up to half an hour waiting for a new guest. You're boring now, Nathan. Yeah, my bad. I do need guests to shout at. Hello, Conglio. Well, at least I know the link works. How you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good to have you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Good to have you.
So this is my first time being ever on any hangout or any discussion online.
Fair enough. What side of the fence do you face?
So I'm on the flat earth side.
Good for you. Obviously and observably, as I would say.
Yeah. So I just want to say that great job for having the show, and I think it's very useful, and also it's really good how you keep the discussions on point.
Hello, Sleeping Warrior. Hello, Alan. And thank you very much.
Great show, Nathan. Fantastic. Keep it up.
Well, it is now you've joined, Alan, I'm sure.
Great guest you get, Nathan. Alan B. Shout out Alan B.
He's dropped already. Oh.
I know, that's why I said it, because he dropped.
Right, we can crack on with housekeeping then if there's a couple of guests. You
to be honest, Nathan, I have to blame you because you were late with the link today.
Yeah, my wife came home unexpectedly, so she'd had a job interview earlier today and had booked half a day off. So I didn't realise that she booked half a day, so I was like, oh great. So obviously I spent some time in her company and time just flew by. Hey Arwin, good to have you.
Hello.
Right, without further ado, let's do a bit of housekeeping. So any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
No.
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 Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
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 Any scientific evidence of gravity?
None whatsoever.
Any proof for the distance to the sun?
Nope.
There is no distance to the sun.
That's the second time I've heard you say that, Arwin. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand the sun's an apparent thing, and none of us have been there. But when you say there's no distance to the sun, what do you mean?
Well, distance is defined by basically two objects not being in the same vicinity as one another, and then the distance in between them, their locations, is what the distance is. Well, the sun has no such position, so there is no distance to the sun. Because it's not a physical object.
No, I get it.
No location, no position, no actual position.
I like it, actually. I mean, I've got to be honest. I'm with you completely. It's like a rainbow. You try and get behind a rainbow. Hey, Chocolate, you can't. That's the bottom line.
Good morning, good morning.
You can't walk around a rainbow. As you move, it moves, same as the sun.
Right.
So yeah, I completely agree. There is no distance to the sun. I'm gonna adopt that. I'm gonna nick it off you, Arwin.
Okay.
We do have call it our winning distance.
No.
Why not get famous for something like that? Because you're the first person I've heard say that. Literally the first person.
What did he say?
Well, what does Arwin have to do with the actual distance itself? Just
there is
say
no
that
actual
I came
distance.
up with it and I'm perfectly fine.
You can just see it in quotes.
Arwin, what did you say? I missed it.
He said, in quotes, there is no distance to the sun, end quote, Arwin. So I could see that in quotes.
Yes. That's perfect.
Oh, okay.
It's like my cosmogonical, there is no spoon.
To be honest with you,
I was just going to say that.
I'd agree with the assertion that there is no distance to the sun.
Cool, let's move on. Any evidence of gas pressure without a container?
Nope.
Nope.
It's very difficult. No.
No.
What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
It's too many presuppositions.
Couldn't agree more. No? No evidence of a molten iron core? Self-perpetuating magnetism? No? No? Anybody? Anybody?
Well, maybe some molten lava or something somewhere, but not a core for starters.
So what you're saying is because we see lava pour out of the crust of the Earth, as it's termed by them, that means there could be lava underneath. Well, we also see water and oil spurting out of the Earth. Does that mean that we've got a oil-based core or a water-based core?
Well, maybe partially. But it's not really a core. To say it's a core is to say it is at the center of presupposed sphere Earth, and that's never going to happen. But there may be layers, and we don't know how thick some of these layers actually are. With
like
oil, seems
like a
to
posh
be
shot. It's like a posh alcoholic shot. You know, you've got like a water layer and an oil layer and a mud layer and a lava layer.
right. But we don't know how thick the lava layers really are. We're just being told how thick they are, basically.
Indeedy do. Right, last but not least then. Well, I suppose second to last. Any signs of M. Scott Veitch?
Nope.
Rumors.
Rumours. Suspicion.
He's supposedly working on full-time now on his movies.
No, there's a newspaper article that says that somebody was killed at NASA in a thing, whatever it was. I can't remember what it says now. Do I have to look it up and present it to you to prove that there was someone killed? That was probably him.
You do realize that Nathan uploaded everything, including what we did offline yesterday.
Yeah,
so,
but I've got a newspaper article. It means it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, but
no, Arwin, I've got a newspaper article.
He has actually got a newspaper article, Arwin. I mean, he's not lying.
Article.
He's not lying about this, you know. And you can scientifically validate that it's a newspaper. So if you can scientifically validate the newspaper itself, that makes the newspaper true.
What does make a newspaper a newspaper? Has it been officially published?
Well, I mean, it's a paper not in the truest sense of the word because it's online. Do you see how I obfuscated your question and answered a different question?
Yeah.
Clever that, isn't it? Not really clever, but that's what the ballers do.
Yeah, it's sneaky.
So yeah, so it says it in print, Arwin. You know, there's not a great deal you can do about that. It's cited.
Nah, not in print. I wouldn't call
I could
that.
print it out and send you a copy of it if you'd like.
See, then it's a newspaper.
Oh, if it's being printed on actual paper, then it's a newspaper, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. And I don't think it is.
At least you're beginning to realise now that not all evidence is good evidence, which is good. The problem that the ballers have that they don't realise that not all evidence is good evidence. There's a really good citation here that I'm going to give. Slice Barkane. He's done a really short video. What I want to do, let's play a game. Anybody up for a game? Nathan, you're up for a game. Let's bring up.
Before you do, any evidence of the presupposition itself? Any evidence of R?
R. Nope.
Nah.
Nope.
No. Well, that concludes our housekeeping. On you go, Anthony. Whenever you're ready.
Right. So am I on screen now? Yeah. Hello.
Yes, you are now.
So, Slice Barkane, question for flat earthers, and basically the question, without having to watch 4 minutes of nice music, is what experiment would you like us to do to prove the shape of the Earth, right? And then I've put something in there, but look at what I want to show you is Wolfie's comment. Great question, Sly. Let's see if we get some great answers. And his first one is saying 2 days ago, so far, not. However, he's ignored my question, and I'm going to make this a bit bigger so you guys can read it. I think I might be about there. All right, so he's ignored my response to this, and I'm feeling a little bit hard done by, I'll be honest. I've said, There is no experiment that can show the Earth is a sphere. You can't prove it in science. It can only be done, if at all, outside of science and or scientific experimentation. So Sly is like quoting part of what I said, and I said, so there is no experiment to verify the shape of an object? And I said, not within the definition of science, no. You can do it outside of science, but science has a specific criteria, and it is the most credible of the evidences. Nathan talks about it often. You should drop by sometime. You might not have made this video if you had. And then he says, there is no scientific way to determine the shape of an object. And I said, not the shape of the Earth. That's why we ask it in housekeeping. And then, let's see his next response. Not the shape of the Earth. So you're saying that Earth is not an object. And I'm like, where have you got that from? Oh, now where's the rest of it gone? Huh. I don't know why it's... I hate how it does this. There we go. So you're saying that the Earth is not an object. And I'm saying, no, I'm saying that you can't test it and comply with the requirements of a scientific experiment. Now, can you see how Sly's putting words in my mouth here? He's trying to quote me on something that I haven't said. Quote, I'm saying you can't test it and comply with the requirements of a scientific experiment. So there is no scientific way to determine the shape of an object. Nathan, what's the answer?
An object isn't a cause of something, you absolute idiot.
I said, not the Earth, and satisfy the scientific method at the same time, no. So
well, that's weird, because I think there is a scientific way to determine the shape of an object.
Is this going to be
put a ruler?
Sorry, that's not scientific, that's mathematical. That's maths.
Yeah, you're measuring it.
No, you're physically measuring it.
So are you establishing... Are you establishing... Hold on, are you establishing the cause of that measurement? Because that's what science does. Measuring something is mathematics.
No, the numbers themselves are mathematics. Actual literal measurements is just sizing up.
Sure,
yeah, but just sizing up, right. Not science. Not science, Arwin. Sizing up.
Right. Nathan, my point's being obfuscated.
Sorry. Okay, it's not scientific method, but determining the shape.
We'll try and keep our questions till afterwards.
Yeah, let's just reserve judgment at the minute, because at the moment I'm belittling Sly, and that bit's being lost at the minute. So let's have the academic moot point afterwards. Let me at the minute destroy Sly. So basically he's saying, so the Earth, ball or plane, is not an object, so therefore there is no way to scientifically determine its shape. And I said, not within the scientific method, no. Again, that's why we ask for scientific evidence for proof of balliness. There isn't any. For good reason too, but you'd have to understand that you'd have to have an understanding of the scientific method to understand why. Obviously, you don't believe me. That's okay. I understand. One day you may realize why. Until then, we'll keep asking and knowing that there can never be scientific evidence for curvature, axial rotation, gravity, curvature, molten iron core, etc., etc. Dude, the summary of this comment thread is simple. We live upon the Earth, hence the Earth is an object. Ball, plane, teapot, and that object has a shape that can be determined. And you are look at T-O-O, it's like 2 O's in 2. But anyway, you are too much of a punk to give into that one fact. And as a result, you claim that there is no way to prove the Earth being a ball, while claiming that the same Earth, which cannot be measured, nor its shape determined, is flat. Yes, Riley, you are that much of a hypocritical idiot. So then, hopefully this will just do what I hope. There we go. So, Sly Sparkane, I said there was no way within the scientific method to determine the shape. Have you been attending the Hufford Academy of Shite Citations? You only do it outside the scientific method, and that makes it non-science, pseudoscience if you like. If you understood what the scientific method is, you would understand, as you're ignorant to the scientific method, you probably think the Rumpus is right when he says the whole body of science backs the ball, Nathan. Which, massive shout out to Ute. Have you seen Ute's video?
I have.
What? Yeah, it's a video. What?
Yeah, taking apart Cool Hard Logic Part 2.
No, he's done segments. He's done all the clips where Nathan or somebody has asked about the evidence, and in the past he said things like, "It's the whole body of science, Nathan." He's put about 8 of them all in a line, so it's got Rumpus saying the whole body of science many different times on many occasions, and the guy needs massive shout outs because that must have took him ages to find all those citations. So anyway, you must think Rumpus is right when he says this. I have news for you, buddy. No science can prove the shape of the Earth within the scientific method. Only in pseudoscience, sci-fi, stories. And then he says something else. Oh, here we go. Keep going, Riley. I always say that nobody delegitimizes flat Earth better than flat earthers. Oh, and do you want to see the scientific method spelled out step by step? Here's the one that you and your friends ducked, and I've not looked at that, to be honest, because I got side. I didn't see that straight away. I saw somebody else posting, and I'm hoping that I get to this new, but this new guy, David Emery. So we'll forget about Sly for the minute. Sly doesn't get it. Here we go. There we go. So David Emery. Now we're going to attack David Emery. Now I don't know who David Emery is. I've not seen him before. Let's just see if he's a real person, because he makes some silly claims. Oh yeah, he's a real person. He says, "Wow, this is so ridiculous as to be nearly impossible to comprehend. I teach the scientific method to business students. So let's remember what he says. So if he teaches this to students, right?
Students? What?
Business students?
Yeah, he teaches it to business.
Why?
I don't know, but this is his claim. Anyway, he claims he has an in-depth understanding of it. Even Aristophanes understood the scientific method. He had a hypothesis. Can we measure curvature? And then he illustrates for why. And I said,
hold
okay.
on, I've got to, you can't let me just not go past that. Sorry. No.
Go on then.
A hypothesis. Can we measure curvature? That's not a hypothesis. That's a question. Can we measure curvature? That's a question. A hypothesis establishes an independent and a dependent variable, a cause and an effect relationship, and a formalized scientific hypothesis would put that into an alternative and a null being a no effect result, i.e. if your presumed cause does not cause the effect, it would adhere to the null hypothesis. So a hypothesis is not something that you put in quotes with a question mark after it. It is an establishment of your presumed cause and your observed phenomena and your presumption that your presumed cause will cause that phenomena to happen. You also have a null that says it won't. That's a hypothesis. A hypothesis is what you will use to experiment. An experiment is the expression of a hypothesis. So in no way did Aristophanes formulate a scientific hypothesis. That's a question, you unbelievable retard.
Sure, but you are jumping the
was a real person.
You are jumping the gun a little bit. Tame your lion for a little moment, because we're getting there. So I said, in response, he said this thing about Aristophanes. I said, all right, let's have a few basic science-related questions. Bear in mind he claims to be a teacher, right? So I've put this into like an academic form. I said, first step of the scientific method is to observe a phenomena. Is the shape of the Earth a concrete noun or a phenomena? Please explain your answer, 8 marks. Okay, by definition, a phenomena is something that is observed to occur or to exist. The shape of the Earth is a natural phenomenon. Nathan, do you agree?
You are, sorry, did you ask me something?
Yeah, I just said, he says, okay, by definition, a phenomena is something that is observed to occur or exist. The shape of the Earth is a natural phenomena. Do you agree?
No.
It's a concrete noun.
It's not a natural phenomena. A shape of is just an indicator.
What is? It's a what is question, right? So mariners as early as
I'm just going to read the. Hold on. I'm just going to read the definition. A phenomena is anything which manifests itself. Phenomena are often, but not always, understood as things that appear or experiences. Not the shape of the Earth.
The shape of the Earth always is.
It's a concrete noun.
It's not changing.
Right, so we get to that. He says mariners as early as 300 years before Christ observed ships going over the horizon. Well, first off, if you're going to argue that the Earth's a ball and it's been resulted from a cosmic bang, you can't cite Christ as a timescale for referencing stuff, because by definition you believe in evolution and cosmic bangs and all that nonsense. So that's interesting that he uses that citation. But anyway, ships going over the horizon hull first and realize the Earth has observable curvature. I said, no, the shape of the Earth is, by definition, a concrete noun. There is no phenomena to observe, because a phenomena requires something to observe rather than just looking at something. For example, leaves on trees are concrete nouns, but in autumn they all seem to fall off altogether in a short period of time. A phenomena. Another one, clouds are concrete nouns, but they seem to appear out of thin air. That is a phenomena. Flowers are a concrete noun, but they seem to open in spring. Phenomena. Fish are a concrete noun, but they seem to swim in unison with each other perfectly rather than randomly. Bats, concrete noun, but they all seem to sleep whilst hanging upside down. The shape of the Earth is a concrete noun. There is no phenomena to observe. Now, I missed a bit when he said about the boats, so you'll see a little bit of a contradiction in a sec. Anyway, I said, straight away, the shape of the Earth is a problem. It's outside the scientific method. It is not a phenomena, just a concrete noun. I presume that you'll disagree, so for the sake of discussion, let's say that you object and counter, and I accept that you're right. I will accept that boats going over the horizon is a phenomena. Let's move on. Hypothesis. The establishing of a valid cause and effect relationship by establishing the independent variable and the dependent variable. Did I get that right, Nath?
Yeah.
In this case, we are trying to prove the shape of the Earth. So this is our independent variable. Our dependent variable is the size of the Earth, as observed from wherever perspective. So because the hypothesis is an if-then relationship, if Earth curve, then obstruction. Agree? Null hypothesis. If not Earth curve, not obstruction. Alternative hypothesis that something else might be causing the effect of curvature that's beyond our control. Anything you disagree with at this point? Then he says, how did I guess that no matter what I said that I'd be wrong? Typical. Look up examples of phenomena. Consider the difference between observe versus looking at something. The observation is ships go over the horizon hull first. The hypothesis is the Earth is round. Concrete noun is rock or tree, and both are observed by expert scientists. David, I have agreed with you on the ship's point. The question at the end is whether or not I'd gone wrong in presenting a valid scientific hypothesis by identifying the independent variable and the dependent variable and applying the if-then relationship. You don't appear to have addressed it. I agree. Boats that appear to go over the curve is a phenomena. And then he says, I hate this.
This is all wrong.
Hang on. I know. I agree, Arwin.
It is already presupposing it is going over the curve.
No.
He's nearly there, Arwin. Just give him. He's nearly there.
Wait.
We can all pile in at the end. We're nearly there.
We're getting there. Just hold your horses a minute. I know you're chomping at the bait to get this, but just bear with me. His claim is that boats appear to go over the curve as the phenomena. As a phenomena, it is a valid phenomena. Boats appear to go over the curve, right? That's the claim. So let's
presupposition.
Right. It is, but it is a phenomena. It is a valid phenomena that
naturally
we can test.
observed. Naturally.
Yeah. No, you observe.
Let's just save it. We'll just save it. We'll save it. Let's just get to the end of
just
the
hang fire. We're getting there. Just hang fire. I know you're dying to. Just give me a sec. We're nearly there. He says, I hate this endless circular arguments. Observation. Ships go over the horizon hull first. Null hypothesis, right? The Earth must be curved. Is that a null hypothesis in this example, Nath?
The Earth must be curved. The null is the zero difference.
Correct.
No difference.
So if this was the case, right, his null hypothesis would be that the Earth is not curved. Correct?
Yeah.
And then the alternative hypothesis would be some other cause may be causing what we see. But his actual hypothesis is the Earth is spherical. His null is that the Earth is not spherical.
Hi, Plain Truth. Hi, Adam.
Good morning.
Hey, Adam.
We're still good to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Adam.
Right, so his experiment, and then he does this thing, and then it talks about cyan and all that, and we've all heard that before. So I said, it's only endless and circular if you get stuff wrong. You seem to have your null hypothesis. Oh, hang on. You seem to have your null hypothesis and your alternative hypothesis incorrect. Bear in mind, he teaches this to business students. Also, you didn't answer my question. I asked if my establishing of the hypothesis was wrong. Why did you not answer my question? The phenomena is that boats appear to go over a curve. So we need to propose a scientifically valid hypothesis. To do this, we first accept that it is a cause and effect relationship. So the cause in science is the independent variable, and the effect is the dependent variable. So the curve of the Earth is meant to cause ships to disappear hull first, right? So curve of the Earth is the independent variable, and the effect on the boat is the dependent variable. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Please answer this specifically. Have I got this wrong? Please don't come back with a counter. Please address this specific point. The Earth's curvature causes boats to disappear hull first, according to you. So the independent variable is curve, and the dependent variable is boats disappear bottom first. Am I wrong? Hopefully this will just add. No, I've got to find out where it is now. Gets good. Here we go. So am I wrong? David, independent variable. Yeah, he gets this bit right. Independent variable is the variable that is controlled and varied to see its effect on the dependent variable. I agree. You control the independent variable. Well, yeah, that's true. You manipulate it, but yeah, control would be a suitable word. The dependent is dependent on the independent variable. So possibly you can use distance of the ship as an independent variable and amount of boat disappearing measured in feet. Now you have a totally different experiment with a different hypothesis, as in this experiment. Mine is not wrong, just different. David, no. Yours is wrong because the independent variable is the cause you are testing for. So if the distance to the ship is what you vary, your cause is distance. So back to my question. You haven't answered twice now. Was I wrong in my previous post where I established them? Hola.
Hiya.
As long as this is going to take this.
Well, there's only 2 questions left, 2 statements, so bear with me. Where is it? So back to my question. You haven't answered twice now. Was I wrong in my previous post where I established a valid scientific hypothesis by identifying the cause and effect relationship when I identified the independent variable, which is the cause, to be curvature of the Earth, and the effect being boats disappear from the bottom as the dependent variable or not? Come on, man. A guy that claims to teach scientific method to business studios would know that I'm 100% right here, but you don't want to admit it, do you? And we both know why, don't we, David? So I will ask a third time. Have I correctly identified the independent variable and the dependent variable or not? Please answer specifically this question. The independent variable has to be the curvature of the Earth. The dependent variable has to be boats disappearing from the bottom up. Am I wrong here, David? You need to say I'm right or wrong. That is your opening line. My question to you is whether or not you'll be intellectually honest and admit that my original post is correct or not. If you really are teaching the scientific method to business students, you know I'm right, but will you admit it or not? Come on, David, get it right. Let's recall your claim, blah, 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 blah. David, you are wrong. I told you before, the independent and the dependent variable have to be measurable. That's true. Have to be. That's true. The independent variable that you control is the distance that the boat is away from the camera. The dependent variable, the difference between the height of the boat from the initial to the current, the freaking conclusion is HO. There is curvature, or HO. There is no curvature. I even showed you an exact example. Your original post was that there was no way to use the scientific method to prove curvature. How hard is that to understand? You are being intellectually dishonest. I said, I agree. You have to manipulate the independent variable. But if your independent variable is distance, then your cause is distance, not curvature. The only way you can have a valid hypothesis for boats with curvature is to set your independent variable to curvature, or you aren't proving curvature. You're proving something else. In your case, distance, but distance would have to be a control in a curvature test, not a variable. You are confused. So you claim I'm wrong, but you have your IV set as distance, but then claim that it's curvature and claim that it's the cause. No, you're misrepresenting your independent variable because you need to misrepresent your independent variable because I'm actually right and you can't admit it and we both know why. Still think I'm wrong? This is the point where you admit that boats cannot be scientifically proven to be a ball earth proof within science, and he hasn't responded.
Well,
so,
I would like to respond, and that is that there may be obstruction.
Correct.
To assume that that obstruction is caused by curvature.
Correct.
Would require a certain cumulative drop, basically, of this obstruction, and that is never the case because the obstruction is pretty much linear in relation to the distance.
Nathan, what do you think?
Well, number one, he hasn't got a naturally observed phenomena. Boats going over the horizon. What's the cause of that? Man. They made some boats. Man made that. So that's not a natural phenomena. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as you rightly point out, he has substituted what he is trying to prove the cause of, cause being curvature, cause being the independent variable, and he's substituted for distance, and then introduced curve as the cause. No, if you're testing that curve causes boats to go over the horizon hull first, then curve is your independent variable, the cause in your cause and effect relationship. If you substitute it for distance, as Anthony points out, your cause is distance. The reality is perspective causes this. The reduction in angular size at distance. So you could even say you're right in your independent variable. Distance causes it, because distance is an angular size reduction when you're talking about things like boats. They get smaller, reducing in angular size to nothing, till you can no longer see them. And when that happens and you have a reduction in viewing angle, you also have things disappearing from the bottom up. This has been explained by us on multiple occasions and can be demonstrated as so. We would not, however, claim it as scientific evidence, because it's not.
So back to my original statement, which was, quote, there is no experiment that can show the shape is there is no experiment that can show the Earth is a sphere. You can't prove it in science. It can only be done, if at all, outside of science and or scientific experimentation. You do not have to like it. So when Wolfie asked, was there any good answers to this? And Sly said, not so far. He's missed off mine. That was 2 days ago. Because Sly's too dense to realise that you can't manipulate the independent variable of the curvature of the Earth. Therefore, it has to fall outside of science. You need to be able to manipulate the independent variable to prove the effect. And if you can't manipulate it, then you can't prove it. By definition, curvature cannot be manipulated unless you're going to, like, I don't know, play God somehow and make Earth smaller and shrink it all back down. But you can't manipulate the independent variable called curvature. So when Slice asks the question, one simple question, for one experiment that would prove the shape of the Earth, well, you can't prove curvature. That's why we ask it in housekeeping. But these dense people don't realize it and literally will obfuscate the point to death, as Sly tried to do. And unfortunately, Sly, you wouldn't have even made this video in the first place if you realized the application of the scientific method never validates the shape of the Earth within science.
Cool. I am going to do a proper shout out on camera to Ute, because I know that we've been looking for these citations and the fact that you found them pleases me greatly. So although there are guests that have also got presentations to do, big shout out to you. I'm going to play your video, my friend. So that's going to be the next thing up. So let's stick my screen on, make it nice and big, turn the volume up, and Bob's your uncle. I haven't actually watched this yet, so I hope it's not too rude. Sure it won't be. I would like scientific proof of Earth curvature.
The whole body of science says so.
The whole body of science is not the scientific method.
The whole body of science.
Yeah, the whole body of science. Yeah,
there you go.
That's right. The whole body of science says.
You sound like a Christian saying the body of Christ. That's what they would say, Rumpus. Do you realise that? You sound like a fundamentalist. Do you realise that? That's what they would do. The body of science compels you. The body of science compels you. I've got a lot of admiration for people who actually confess to the fact that they've got a belief. Good for you. You've proved it to yourself, have you, Rumpus? Good lad.
Well, no, the whole body of science is proved.
Good lad, you believe. Yeah.
Sure.
So you can't show me a model of Earth? I thought you had one.
Where'd you get gas pressure?
This is a gas pressure.
Where'd you get that?
Where did I get it? From the body of science.
The body of science.
That's right.
The body of science compels you. Do you have scientific evidence of the radius of Earth?
Body of science provides it.
Shut your mouth about the body of science and listen to what I've asked you for. Do you have scientific evidence of this R value you will use in your model?
Body of science.
Not body of science.
Yes.
You stupid religious zealot.
Right, so you're not prepared to accept the body of science, and yet you're also not prepared.
You haven't got any scientific evidence of the R value you will use in your absolutely shite pseudoscience proves nothing model.
So you reject the body of science.
Look, dickhead, doesn't matter how many times you say, the body of science. It won't change that you have absolutely sod all scientific evidence for the R value you will insert when you model.
So you reject the body of science and you reject...
I reject an R value that has no scientific evidence to back it.
Body of science and your own...
Body of science isn't scientific evidence. That's men in white coats talking to each other and peer reviewing. He asked you, what haven't I answered, yeah? And I'm saying you haven't given me an answer for scientific evidence of the R value.
The body of science has numerous examples of that. In fact, I can link you to I can link you to a geodetic book which goes into this.
Sorry, geodetic would be working on the presupposition that they're on a sphere to begin with, would they not?
No, not.
No. Yes, they are. Yeah, that by nature is geodesy.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. Cool. Thank you very much, Ute. Really appreciate it. Just to point out to the audience, science doesn't have a body. It doesn't have a conscience. It doesn't worry about things. It's a methodology. Just to get that absolutely clear.
Yeah, it must have took him absolutely ages to work out, to go and capture all that information. So massive kudos just for putting the time in.
Yeah, definitely.
Must have took forever.
Because we were saying it only the other day, weren't we? Oh, we'll have to go through and dig out all the times he says the body of science, because it would be hysterical to string all that together. Did we do it? Did we heck? Thank you, you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. Big, massive shouts out to you, because we spoke about it literally a couple of days ago. And the reason why, of course, is that these morons all believe that science proves the shape of the Earth. But the reality is, when you ask them for it, they don't give you any. That was demonstrated recently with Simon Dan. I asked him what was the current science for the distance to the sun. And I said, I don't want the rhetoric, I want the evidence. And he didn't give any evidence whatsoever, just told us that it was the radar calculations from Venus, the ping data bouncing back from Venus. All right, well, where is that evidence? Can we see it? Like a journal reference would be at least a help. That's secondary evidence. Ideally, a video of some kind showing it actually being done with some kind of radar pulse machine or something. Who knows? Science is a weird and wonderful thing at times. But the point is, when you ask them for evidence, they never, ever have it, ever. And where they do have it, they'll misrepresent it in some way. There'll be something wrong with it. It's just a case of having time, thinking about what they present and finding the fault in it. And there will always be a fault, because you can't manipulate the independent variable to prove the thing that they say or they believe that they can prove. Can't do it. So it falls outside of science. So therefore, if it falls outside of science, then, well, we have a problem, don't we? It's not science. But their claim, the whole body of science, like it's like Nathan says, the whole body of science compels you. Well, where is it? Let's see.
Okay, Adam, are you there?
I am, mate. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday we discussed at great length planes nosing down on a plane. I understand that you want to do a little presentation about that. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you want me to
absolutely
slam it in now. Yeah, I did
yes,
a little.
Please.
Well, this is quite interesting. It's how I describe it, a bit of analysis, because I recognised it's not an experiment. Let me see if I can screen share and I'll...
So you passed the exam just for recognising it's not an experiment, but...
I think that's the important. You can use scientific experiments, like with this stuff you could do there with the curvature stuff. But what, as you say, what you can't do is make the statement as a scientific statement. You can rule other stuff out. You could demonstrate scientifically ways that there is additional curvature that's outside of perspective. But to be able to scientifically vary the curvature is an impossibility. So it is a bit semantics, and it's a bit like with the things that quantum I'll accept. There's a level of logic and application as well that you have to use. But the point I would make to the ballers is they're not citing experiments that make smaller conclusions which suggest other things. They're making these observations and applying the observations in a completely false manner and trying to make out that it's an experiment and it scientifically proves. That's the, I think, understanding the limitations of science is the key, and how you can use scientific experiments to then make logical conclusions. But that doesn't mean the conclusion is scientific.
Completely agree.
Oh.
Does it fall under the complex hypothesis?
A complex hypothesis can only establish a relationship between things. It can't establish a cause. So it can give you a probability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not establishing cause.
No, that's when you kind of get into the kind of the psychology kind of hypotheses and stuff. They're all about probabilities, so none of them are scientific, because we don't really, and it's quite a good analogy, because we don't really understand psychology. We can only postulate causes and possible outcomes and the probability of possible outcomes. Nothing in psychology is scientific. It's best guess.
Quackery.
Well, isn't it basically based on behavioral studies? That's
yeah.
the foundation?
Yeah.
So there is some established details of how things are generally working with the human psyche.
No, that's the point. It's not how things are working. It's the probable outcome. That at no point in any of the psychology is there how are things actually working. You will get hypotheses and nulls that postulate that you can accept with some confidence intervals, but what you don't get is a true scientific cause and effect relationship in any of it.
Yeah,
you just get.
I get it. Yes. Yeah.
Hi.
Right, you're presented.
I didn't get. So sorry. Go on.
And I was just saying to Adam, he's presented. But if you want to go ahead, Cinder, you go ahead. And then
The
Adam.
problem with psychology is, of course, every human is different, so you can't go from the variables that you can't start with something solid because every human is different. Psychology works better if you take a group of people, like thousands of people. Then you can predict what they are going to do.
Nah, you'll just get a statistical average.
Yeah, that's the point of psychology, because if you want to treat a disease, like a mental disease, you have to know what worked on the other people, and then you are like gambling if it works on this person or not. But you are going to do your best for it.
That's not very scientific, though.
It is not, I know, but
it is purely testing. It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's a gamble. But what else are you going to do if every person is different? You can't start with something solid. Every person is different, and every person reacts differently on medicine.
Well, I'm going a bit into the philosophy region, but I'd like to say that all people may be different in their composition, their characteristics composition, and their physiology composition, but the composition will always remain a gathering of human elements. So the elements will coincide with each other. There will always be human elements to every human, but the total ability composition can be endless.
Okay, and what kind of elements are you talking about? Like character and other things, or what do you mean? Elements?
All living humans have skin.
These elements, organs, brain cells.
All humans have, all humans have survival instinct, have the ability to communicate somehow. Can be any type of way, but communication is an essential human trait. And not only human, by the way, but very much human, at least. And so there are all these kinds of abilities that humans generally have, and the way these abilities express themselves or manifest themselves can be different, can be approached from different angles per person. There's a complex psyche structure that actually drives things and doesn't always have to be structured in the same manner.
For example, identical twins that have exactly the same genes. If you want to treat them with psychology, you have to treat them differently, because those 20, 30, 40, 50 years they lived, they had other experiences, and this also is an element you have to add, because we are what we experience, and some part is genetic, and I don't know how much influences each other.
That's a good example.
Sorry, just before you, sorry, Adam. I was just about to interrupt. Sorry, Adam. Just bear with me a second. Fascinating though this is, we've gone from how this is not science to talking about it in depth. And I've got Adam on screen hoping to do a presentation about something directly related to Flat Earth, and we're talking about psychology. So,
please, let's change the topic then.
No offense, I enjoy it. If we weren't literally on topic with the presentation, I'd be happy to talk about it all day, but it's just literally we're on topic. We're definitely on Flat Earth. We've got a presentation. Really sorry to do it to you, Zinder, and to Arwin. Sorry. But Adam, you're up. If you can just hide your little share box thing at the bottom, just so it's a bit more pretty. That's brilliant. In your own time.
Right, guys. So as you can see, this was just a little thing that I did or planned to do with Paul on the plane. When Paul first did his accelerometer stuff, we were chatting about different ways of doing it, and this was some additional stuff we thought about doing, which was just to basically leave the spirit level app and record what happens on the flight in terms of movement across the horizontal. So as you can see here, it's not an experiment, just a little bit of analysis of some of the data. So So I kind of looked into it a little bit, and the first thing you always kind of notice on a plane is that you're always pointing up a little bit anyway. So I looked into this kind of stuff and had a little read on some pilots' forums, etc., about angle of attack and the likes. And basically the crux of it was that the angle the nose is pointing is not the direction of travel. So the vector of travel is on here is the yellow line, whereas you can see which way it's the nose is pointing. Now that is level flight. So basically within level flight, there are a couple of assumptions that I've taken from, like they say, just doing a little bit of research. So basically in straight flight, it's achieved with an upward angle of the overall plane of between 2 and 3 degrees. The nose doesn't ever angle down in flight, even when you're trying to lose altitude. Altitude is lost by reducing the angle or reducing speed, which results in a decrease in upward thrust. So basically a slight tilt backwards is the usual in straight flight, and I'd say 2 to 3 degrees seems to be the standard. So there's a little picture of my feet just on the plane. Took it in. It was a lot more level on the tarmac. So just a few pictures there. So what did I do? Basically, I just recorded the data, hoping to plot a load of vectors, hoping for a bit more change, if I'm being honest, is what I wanted to do. And I was going to plot it as vectors, and if it was on 2 degrees for 10 minutes, etc., kind of draw that and see how it all looked. But it was pretty much constant. So during the 2-hour flight, it fluctuated between 1 and 4 degrees, but there was never anything at 0 or in a downward motion. So if I assume I'm doing about 850 kilometers an hour, during that hour's observation, I've probably covered a distance of about 800 kilometers in terms of the observation. And as you can see, just to remind you again, that the flight vector is this, and this is kind of confirmed the flight vector by the maintenance of the horizontal of the artificial horizon. The pilots are maintaining that, which is powered by a gyroscope. Hence my assumption of being able to plot based on that a vector like that, and just seeing if there was a slight difference. Now, slightly corrupted, as I tell you, because most of that is really to do with the upward thrust and changing altitude. So, but what we can assume is that the plane is flying in a straight line, and that straight line is generated by the gyroscope. So it is a straight 90 degrees from the point of origin in a horizontal vector. So obviously going on across a flat plane, it's fairly obvious it's flat. So just a little bit of assumptions. So when we compare the two models, so orientation, direction of gravity do remain the same when you travel across a flat plane. So you travel that 800 kilometers. The direction of gravity in relation to your straight line travel is exactly the same. Down is down. If you're on a curved Earth, then that orientation of direction of gravity will vary if you are traveling in a straight line at a rate of 0.009 degrees per kilometer of straight line distance. So what we're not trying to do here is we're not trying to measure the curvature of the Earth, but we are trying to see if there's any change in the orientation of gravity, and I'm using that word in relation to assumption of working on a ball. So you'll have to forgive me on that. So basically, just put simply, if the plane travels like that, across the plane in a straight line, then at all points across those 800 kilometers, the direction of the gravity is exactly in the same for the people on the plane. They're going to experience it exactly in the same way at point A as they do at point C, which is down. Now, if we do this across a curved surface, it is going to change, I'd say, at a rate of 0.009 degrees. So again, at the beginning of the flight, which is a straight line as defined by the gyroscopes, the orientation of the downward force, whatever it is, on this ball would be here. As we then go across, you're going to get a slight bit of change. But as we get further and further away, eventually that angle will increase to a noticeable point. So after 1,000 kilometers, you're going to get a 9-degree incline, which is noticeable, I would suggest. So, you know, if you think about this traveling on a ball from the North Pole down, this is the kind of, eventually, once you got to the equator, you are going to be at 90 degrees. Now, if we take those black lines here, this is the direction of orientation. Now, the reality is this is how the passengers would experience it. So it's going to feel like the plane is starting to tilt further and further backwards. But we know that this is a straight line because it's defined by the gyroscopes in the plane. So just a little summary. During the 1 hour of monitored flight, only a constant incline of orientation between 1 and 4 degrees was observed. There was no resultant change in orientation with respect to the gravitational pull which was experienced or measured. So in conclusion, we can say that the observations and measurements found no evidence for curvature as would be experienced or measured by traveling across a ball of circumference 40,000 K, sorry. I'm a zero missing there, aren't I? Results and measurements would indicate travel occurred with lines of gravity parallel with each other and perpendicular to the line of straight travel, consistent with traveling across a flat plane. I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
That was backwards because the gravity changes on a flat plane. It's not always down. The directions change. That's why the flat earthers have to deny gravity existing.
Could
We're
you
not
give an
denying
example,
anything. There's no scientific evidence of gravity, Pete. So
because
we're not denying,
okay, so
we're not denying something that doesn't really exist and can't be proven. If it can't be proven, then it's not proven.
Well, if gravity works as we, they say it's a traction to the center of mass.
They say, do they?
Yeah.
Is that it? That's
Maybe
very
we
interesting.
could call it buoyancy orientation direction for cross model purposes.
Maybe we could call it unscientifically proven claim of gravity.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I think you could get into the debate of what the gravity means. I think we all understand that
this is how it works on a flat earth.
What we're talking about without needing to debate.
This is how gravity works on a flat earth, and so it's totally the opposite of what you just said.
So where have you got this from? Where have you got
it's not my opinion. It's how gravity is attracted to the center.
On the flat earth. P-Mars on the flat earth.
So if the earth was flat, the gravity would be strongest. I'm talking.
Hold on, look. We've all given Adam the chance to present his stuff.
I'm not
give him a chance to present it.
I'm just saying this
on
guy
a flat earth
presented.
model, there is no gravity.
Yeah, can you wait till he's just made his presentation, then say it?
I thought he did. I'm just saying he was wrong about when he said that the gravity would always be going down on a flat earth. That's not what we would experience. I'm just saying that's wrong. It's like this picture I have.
Okay, is that the end of your presentation, P?
Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Pete,
Okay.
Where did you get this picture?
I just Googled gravity flat earth in Google Images.
Skillful, that P.
That's seriously confused, P, isn't it? Look, that is a mess of a diagram and misrepresentation. Again, it's one of those.
No.
straw man argument against flat Earth.
Okay, can you define what a straw man is?
A nonsense
I don't
argument.
think.
Don't really. Well,
Okay, that's,
look,
no,
you
that's not the definition of straw man.
A straw man.
you're
A straw man is an
obfuscating.
argument that
You
you
don't
build
know
up.
what words.
Hold on,
Straw
P,
man is a
P,
deflection
You don't know
towards
what
another
the-
argument.
P, don't rumpus the hangout. Come on. You've asked what a straw man is. So a straw man is an argument that is not being made by your opponent that you build up so you can demolish it. So nobody is saying that the flat Earth is represented like this. You are. So that you can demolish this argument.
He just said gravity on a flat Earth works the same on a ball. He just said, or something like that. He said that it would always be going down.
No, that's not what he said.
No, he said it would always be going. The directional wouldn't change.
One
It would always be
direction.
going down.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what he
in
said.
contrast to with a globe.
Right. And it's totally the opposite. The totally
center location.
Completely
Flat Earth,
opposite.
it goes
It's
in
complete
the direction.
opposite.
So, okay.
I think
reassert
P, you're
the
a
position.
bit
Right.
misunderstood, really.
No,
there.
you don't understand gravity. What
No,
you just
there's
said is
nothing to
completely the
understand,
opposite
P.
of the truth.
P.
Complete
there is-
opposite.
P. There is no scientific evidence of gravity. Okay?
There is. It's a Cavendish experiment.
Yeah, that's not an experiment. We've gone through this about 20 times. It's not an experiment. There is no observed phenomena. The independent variable is not gravity. It does not prove gravity. It is not science. It is a parlor trick.
No, that's just John Stenja crap.
Oh, really?
No,
Well,
a
you
few
give me
days
the...
ago, remember this guy had the Cavendish setup presented live?
Dude,
And
that
it was
experiment was a
complete
joke.
rubbish.
Arwen, that experiment was put together by tape. You
Yes,
put
so
freaking
how was that
it together.
balance? Wait, it
Give me a
doesn't matter
break.
what it's.
Give me a freaking break. He put the experiment
Okay, I'll
together.
give
He
you
was
a
like
freaking
trying to fail. He was trying to make that thing.
No, he was not.
Yes, he was. He put it
No,
together
he
with tape.
wasn't.
He put it
Just
together
say,
with
just say it
tape.
one more time.
P,
Keep
are you
saying-
alright,
Where do you
man?
see anyone doing an
P.
experiment with
P.
fucking
Yeah.
duct
P.
tape?
No swearing,
Yeah.
please. P,
Duct
calm
tape.
down.
His
P,
experiment is
Rip.
held together by
Calm
duct
down.
tape.
yourself.
Calm down.
His experiment was held together by duct tape, dude.
Right,
Get
P.
a grip
Duct
over
tape.
yourself.
P,
Where do you
P,
see an experiment that
P, just keep saying the same things over and again.
uses
Triggered.
duct tape to hold the experiment together? Where do you ever see that? It's
Okay,
ridiculous.
P-Mars,
right, I'll just
why
say it
did
one more
Sly
time.
use styrofoam
P.
boards in
Anthony,
his
hold
Cavendish
on.
experiment when
Hold on.
styrofoam boards were not part of the original?
So I'll say it one more time. It is not
question is
an
that?
experiment. Pete, why are you rumpusing the hangout? Right, an experiment is the expression of a hypothesis. So unless you can give me a formalized hypothesis for the Cavendish experiment, it is not, by definition, an experiment. It is
Unless
not...
you can,
Oh, right. I'm finished
demonst-
that IP. My bad. I'll just say what I'm going to say whether you like it or not. It is not an experiment. An experiment is the expression of a hypothesis. It doesn't have an observed phenomena. It is conjured within the apparatus. You don't have to like this, P.
I mean, it's just nonsense what you're saying. Like you.
No, it's not nonsense, so I'll say it again. An experiment is the expression of a hypothesis. It is a hypothesis test. That is what an experiment is. So unless you can give me a formalized hypothesis for the Cavendish experiment with the cause, independent variable, being gravity, something that doesn't exist and you cannot manipulate, then it is not science.
Unless you can demonstrate that the Cavendish experiment isn't an experiment, then you have no basis for this claim.
Yeah, I just did that. An experiment is a hypothesis test. Give me the hypothesis for the Cavendish experiment. Hello? Retard!
Demonstrate that Cavendish experiment.
Don't tell me what to do. I've just explained that an experiment is a hypothesis test. That's what an experiment is. So unless you can give me the hypothesis for the Cavendish, it is not, by definition, an experiment. An experiment is a hypothesis test. How many times have I got to say it?
Right, he's gone. Adam, carry on, sir.
Yes.
I think that was it, actually. He'd done the end of his presentation. Hello, Chocolate saying, and hello.
I kind of done the
Kilo.
presentation there, guys. I was gonna
Got a full panel now.
just gonna say P's diagram. If you looked at that picture he put up, what it was a kind of bastardization, wasn't it? It was working on the assumption that gravity is caused by mass attracting mass. They'd taken a flat Earth and assumed that on a disk or on a flat plane, the center of the mass had to be in the middle of that circle, and they were therefore drawing points to the middle of that circle, which is, like I say, a complete straw man of trying to still use their clearly disproven.
Adam, he didn't even have an ice wall on it. How crap was his diagram?
It's pretty bad. And like I say, full of nonsense in terms of, it was a full straw man diagram.
Full
Wasn't
space assumption.
That was the
ridiculous.
silliest diagram I've ever seen.
It was a domed, flat Earth disk in space.
My microphone working.
Ridiculous.
What's up, Spurs?
Oh, you can hear me. How are we doing?
You're quite.
Good-
You're
good
really
chemo.
quiet. I can hear you, but you're quiet.
I'll turn you up, no worries. Good to have you, Chemo.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've uploaded a new video. I think I've made some kind of discovery. I don't know if it's a discovery, if it's been noticed before, but I've put it together in a way where we can see if it's actually happened or not, or hopefully people will look into it. So I've questioned the ISS for the longest time. Is there something up there? Are there people up there? So having watched some of the ISS, it seems like there's something up there. Whether it's, you know, an ISS, like a station, or whether it be just like a high altitude aircraft of some kind, there's something up there. So have you guys seen the video? Do we know what we're talking about?
No, but I have seen videos, amateur videos, not from NASA, so showing the ISS flying, you know, with a telescope. But I don't know if they are real or fake. There are a lot of them, but I don't know.
Even play. It's like a 6 minute, or do you want to post a link, Nathan? What do you think?
You mean the light phenomena of the ISS?
You can see the whole ISS.
Well, you
Really,
may get
the
it to...
whole. So what does that mean? You could see the actual shape. You could see signs of physicality.
Yeah,
or you
it
just saw a light in a general shape of the ISS.
It looks like the ISS, like a gigantic satellite, but you know, the light looks kind of strange because
So a light
I don't know if
Yeah,
what I can show you if you want.
Sure.
Give me a minute.
Well, I'm actually going to round out this show for about a 10-minute break now, so you may get an opportunity to do it at the beginning of the next show.
Oh, there's another show. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, we're just about to round out, and you can do it the next. Do it at the
Yeah,
beginning.
we'll start the next show. Yeah, because it might be an interesting topic. Talk about it off air as well.
Cool. So with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate, and of course a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!